Alright, folks. Now, this is something new I'm trying. This is. I'm just going to be reading some stories from a couple books, maybe a chapter or two from the PGO HOO series. Let's just hope y'all like it. Alright, the first story I am reading is The Curse of the T.B. Scott Mansion. The town. Now, this is for all Wisconsinites. Yo, yo! Yeah, I know. Stupid. Oh god, I'm not gonna kill myself, but whatever. Let's get this over with. Alright. The towns of northern Wisconsin are filled with monstrous houses built to shelter the families and egos of 19th century lumber barons. Most of these men became rich by decimating the state's great timber mill stand. So it was of little consequence to them to put a small forest worth of oak and pine into their homes. Scotsman Thomas Blythe Scott was one such lumber broker and five-term state senator, who built a hilltop palace in Merrill, overlooking the Wisconsin River. Unfortunately, things didn't go too well for him once the fabulous home was completed. Old-timers in Merrill said he might have done well for him. He might have done better if he had only had the sense to not build on land cursed by a Native American chief. The land had been doomed long before Europeans settled in Merrill. Back in the day, when French fur traders canoed up and down the rivers looking to buy beaver, fox, and muskrat pelts. Near what is now Merrill was a village called Squateo Ao Wife, Sippy, by the French. One day, a group of French traders came to the village and were received as important guests by the chief himself, who asked his beautiful young daughter to serve the men dinner. Perhaps unable to pronounce her name, the Frenchman called her Jenny. One of the traders decided he'd like to see more of the comely Jenny, and 9 months later, the poor girl died in childbirth. That's sad. This is true. Sorry, dramatic pause. By this time, of course, the traders were long gone, and the chief was unable to direct his revenge at the man who had impregnated his daughter. In his grief and fury, the chief decided she would be buried on a large hill across the river from his village. But he cursed the hill for all time. The curse was recorded in a story by Dolores Chilson Milke that appeared in the Merrill Daily in 1930. Milke later wrote a book about the Scott Mansion, which figures prominently in this story. The bereaved chief said was, "O great spirits, grant me this peace for my child. Let this ground be sacred to her memory, and let it never do any white man any good." A settler's village soon sprang up near the hill, called Jenny, and just as the chief had hoped, all who lived on that hill seemed to fall prey to early death and great woes. By 1884, T.B. Scott had begun building his mansion, and this village, now a city, had changed its name to Merrill. At that time, a small Indian summer camp still occupied part of the hill, and Scott took care to leave it alone. Even so, he died in 1886 at the age of 57 from Bright's disease before the house was finished. His widow, Anna, died the following year. Their son, Walter, sold the mansion, but apparently not quick enough. He met an early death 10 years later when he was stabbed with a letter opener after a quarrel. None of the Scotts ever lived to live in the mansion. The Chicago businessman who bought the house sold it only 5 days after purchasing it to one Andrew Dunning, who was able to hold on to it for only a few years before passing it on to Edward and Gertrude Kuchera. Edward Kuchla soon lost his shirt in a gold mine scam, after which the house was owned by a succession of Chicago speculators. A few years later, the Kuchels' fortunes rebounded, and they bought the house back. It's kind of stupid if you ask me, but the house is pretty. It's pretty. Big mistake. No sooner had they once again become its official owners than they lost everything in a disastrous railroad purchase. Edward Kuchler was eventually declared insane. Side music playing include Insane in the Membrane. Yes, I know, stupid. The next owner was embarking from Chicago on a trip to Merrill to have his first look at the property when mobsters stabbed him to death in Chicago's Union Station. And this house is cursed. This is just really unfortunate. Another owner died of a stroke at the relatively young age of 62. Now back then, that was young. And in 1912, a one-armed popcorn vendor named Popcorn Dan Coxon, who may have served as caretaker of the house, drowned on the Titanic. Eventually, the manor was sold to the city of Merrill. In 1923, the city offered it to a Catholic order, the Sisters of the Holy Cross, if the order would build a hospital on the grounds. The sisters accepted, and the grounds now include a modern hospital, a chapel, and other buildings. Although people still whisper that the mansion is filled with ghostly laughter and mysterious footsteps, there have been no more strange or untimely deaths since the Sisters of the Holy Cross took it over. Townspeople say that's because the religious sisters were the only people the curse could ever allow to live on the hill. Not everyone agrees that there was a maiden named Jenny. Some digging by Dolores Milky revealed that for some unknown reason, an early surveyor had named the town Virginia Falls. Virginia was short to Ginny, then corrupted to Jenny, and that was where the town's original name came from. Makes sense, but there could have been an Indian girl named Jenny, named by the Frenchman. Who knows? We'll never find out since time travel is an impossibility. Whether the curse was real or not, whether there was a beautiful chief's daughter or not, only the river and the hill now remember. But one fact remains: until the estate was given over to people whose lives were dedicated to God and to healing, it never did do the white man any good. I might be doing another one of these later on if I can get the laptop. I hope you liked it. I would love to have my voice out there. I think it's pretty good, but that's just my opinion. Now, please like and favor this. If you like the story, if you want me to do more, I'll do them. Peace out. This is the Ghost. Later.